was supposed to be a fresh start. The Harper family moved to the sleepy town of Mill Creek, Pennsylvania, with nothing but hope in their hearts. The town, nestled between ancient woods and forgotten coal mines, looked like something out of an old postcard, charming, quiet, timeless. But something was off from the very first day. The house they moved into, a towering Victorian built in the late 1800s, had been vacant for nearly 3 decades. No one in town wanted to talk about it, not even the real estate agent who had offered it for a steal. The neighbors across the street just stared, especially the old woman in the rocking chair who seemed to never blink. "Mom, I think there's someone in the attic," whispered 12-year-old Ellie on the first night. "You're just tired, sweetheart," her mom replied, though her own hands trembled as she unpacked. But Ellie wasn't tired. She had heard footsteps. Heavy, slow, dragging footsteps. And then whispering. Not from the attic. From the walls. Ellie wasn't the only one feeling it. Her older brother, Jake, kept waking up at 3:12 a.m., always exactly at that time drenched in sweat, his room freezing cold. The family cat refused to go upstairs. Doors creaked open without cause. The sound of someone humming echoed through the hallway at night. Then came the mirror incident. Ellie screamed one morning, not because of what she saw in the mirror, but what she didn't. Her reflection was missing. For 5 terrifying seconds, the mirror showed the entire bathroom, the tub, the towel rack, the fog on the glass, but not her. Then suddenly, her reflection appeared, but it smiled before she did. Jake, curious and unnerved, started digging into the town's history. In the basement of the local library, beneath piles of dust-covered documents, he found an article from 1973. Family of 5 disappears from Mill Creek Mansion. Police suspect ritual involvement. The photo attached to the article showed their house, and in the background, standing near the attic window, was a tall, shadowed figure with burning white eyes. When Jake showed the article to the librarian, her face turned pale. That house, it doesn't want to be lived in, and once you're inside, it knows you. Strange symbols began appearing under Ellie's bed, not drawn, burned into the wooden floor. At first, Ellie was just behaving oddly, talking to herself, drawing grotesque creatures, and speaking in a language no one recognized. But soon, she stopped being Ellie altogether. She wouldn't blink. She stopped eating. And once, when her father tried to hug her, she whispered, "You're not my real daddy anymore." And then her voice changed, deep, guttural, inhuman. The situation with Ellie worsened with each passing day. Her once bright, curious eyes were now cold, lifeless, as if they belonged to someone else entirely. Jake couldn't stand to watch it anymore. He had to know the truth. One late evening, he snuck back to the local library, determined to uncover whatever dark past lingered over the Harper family. His fingers trembled as he sifted through old, yellowed papers until he found the one piece of information that made his blood run cold: the Harper bloodline and the curse of Mill Creek. The page was dated 1897, and it spoke of an ancient ritual tied to the town. A secret society, the Cult of the Hollow, had been known to practice dark rituals in the woods surrounding Mill Creek, invoking spirits to possess the living in exchange for unimaginable power. However, something went wrong. The rituals were incomplete, and a demon, one of great malice and power, was trapped in the very house Jake now lived in. But it was the last sentence that caught his eye. The bloodline of Harper shall return to free the demon, forever binding their soul to it. Jake's mind raced. Could it be that the house and the demon had been waiting for the Harper family's return all these years? And was Ellie's connection to this curse the key to releasing the evil that had been dormant for decades? Jake's stomach turned. He had to stop this, whatever it took. Back at the house, Jake confronted his parents. They were skeptical at first, brushing off his discovery as mere superstition. But it became impossible to deny the truth when strange things began happening more frequently. One night, after Ellie had locked herself in the attic, Jake heard the unmistakable sound of scratching from within. But when he opened the door, Ellie wasn't there. The room was empty except for a deep, dark stain on the floor, resembling a handprint. The walls were covered with bizarre symbols, some scratched, others burnt into the wood. His mother, now visibly shaken, started to speak. "Jake, we need to leave. This house, it doesn't want us here. We shouldn't have come." But it was too late. The curse was already in motion. That night, Jake made a horrifying discovery. His reflection in the hallway mirror didn't match his movements. It stood still while he moved, staring back at him with those same haunting eyes that had been haunting Ellie. Suddenly, a voice from the mirror whispered, "You'll never escape." Days blurred into nights, and the Harper family began to unravel. They couldn't trust their own senses. Ellie's voice had become an unholy blend of distorted sounds. It wasn't just a possession anymore, it was an infestation of evil. Jake, with growing desperation, turned to the town's most mysterious figure, the old woman who had watched their every move from across the street. She was rumored to know more about the town's history than anyone. When he knocked on her door, she answered without a word. No greeting, no acknowledgement. She led him inside, her small cottage filled with old, pungent herbs and strange trinkets. She stared at him for a long moment as if weighing his soul. "You've awakened the demon," she finally said in a low, raspy voice. "The curse is tied to your blood, boy. It will feed off your fear, until there's nothing left." The old woman, whose name was Mariah, revealed that the Harper family had been involved in the original cult that had summoned the demon. But it wasn't just any demon, it was the Watcher of Souls, a creature bound to the house for centuries. The only way to banish it was through the blood of a Harper, but the cost would be too high. "I can help you," Mariah said, her eyes glimmering with a secret knowledge. "But you must be willing to sacrifice everything. Your family, your life, perhaps even your own soul." Jake could feel his heart hammering in his chest. He had no choice. Mariah's instructions were clear. They had to perform a ritual that would banish the demon, but it had to be done at the peak of the full moon, and only one person could be the vessel to sever the connection between the demon and the Harper bloodline. Jake, determined to save his sister and stop the terror, agreed to sacrifice himself. But as the night approached, the house seemed to grow more malevolent. The very walls seemed to whisper, urging him to stop. Ellie's screams echoed from the attic as the demon inside her grew more violent. "You can't escape me, boy," it taunted in her voice. Jake, trembling, performed the ritual in the attic, his hands shaking as he drew the ancient symbols Mariah had taught him on the floor. The air was thick with cold, the very atmosphere charged with malevolent energy. But just as the ritual reached its peak, Ellie knew. The demon inside her lunged at him, her eyes glowing with an unholy light. Jake could feel the demon's claws scrape across his chest as he screamed in agony. It was too strong. He was too weak. Just as the demon was about to claim Jake's soul, Mariah burst into the attic, wielding a strange talisman in one hand and a vial of blood in the other. She began chanting in a language older than time itself. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, as if the house itself was screaming, the walls cracked open, and the demon let out a deafening roar. The talisman flared to life, a brilliant light enveloping the entire room. Ellie's body was lifted from the ground, her mouth opening wide in a grotesque display. Jake, with his last ounce of strength, reached out and grabbed Ellie's hand. As he did, a violent surge of energy coursed through him, nearly breaking his body. But he held on, and as he did, the demon's grip on her loosened. With a final anguished cry, the demon was expelled from her body, and Ellie collapsed into Jake's arms. The attic was quiet again, but the damage was done. The Harper family never fully recovered from the horrors they faced in the house. Though Ellie survived the possession, she was never the same. Her once vibrant personality was now distant, lost in her own world. Jake, forever haunted by the darkness he had witnessed, could never forget the way the demon's eyes had looked at him, the way it had whispered his name, promising that it would return. The house, though empty, still stood in Mill Creek. The locals knew better than to approach it. They said it had a curse of its own, one that would never truly let go. And as the Harper family moved away, leaving behind their shattered lives, one final question echoed in the town. Had the demon really been banished, or had it just found a new home? The nightmare may be over for now, but remember, darkness never truly leaves. Could the curse be waiting for its next victim? If you felt the chills, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to get the creepiest, spine-chilling stories first. Stay tuned, the horror is just beginning. See you in the next one, if you dare.